It's time for New York City baseball, past, present, and future.
We're back. New York City baseball, past, present, and future with Unger and Tyko. My co-host, Wayne Unger. How are you?
I'm good. Ralph, how are you doing tonight?
Oh, I'm doing fine. It's always a pleasure to have you as someone to talk ball with, and that's because I like to do that more than almost anything in the whole world, and I like to talk New York ball because that's where my roots are, and my fandom still, my real fandom is still with the New York Mets because they were the team that didn't leave me when I was 11 years old, as opposed to the Giants, who I still am an apologist for. And I still love hearing about what's going on with the New York Yankees, what went on with the New York Yankees. I wasn't a Yankee fan, but I certainly was a Yankee worshiper over the years, the players especially. I mean, the organization, hard to worship any organization. So let's start that way. And with that in mind, I'll give you a good organization not to worship. That's the New York Mets and the ownership of the New York Mets. We talked about this a little off the air. Ruben Tejada was released by the Mets, who I think would have added a terrific amount of depth to their shortstop position, especially with the mild knee strain to the new starting shortstop going on, and the Mets are going to save maybe $4 or $5 million. They're going to bring up certainly a guy who's ready. Reynolds is ready to take over, but you got a very small envelope with this pitching staff. You're not going to be able to keep it together forever. Injuries happen. You want to win once, twice, maybe three times real quick, and to do that, you can spend a few dollars. You got things going for you, and I gave Wilpon a hall pass from this show for signing Cespedes, and actually he surprised all of us by doing what he did and improving the double play combination. I don't want him to get chintzy on us now. It's too important. Reynolds will probably do the job, but you know that Tejada has the experience, and by releasing him, I took it one step further in my mind. You're looking at a workman's comp thing. He hurt his leg really bad. He can come back and sue the club and say, you know what, you don't want me anymore? The real reason, probably because my range was cut down. So I could sue you for that. I don't know what the rules are for that.
I don't.
What do you say?
I know. Well, one, of course, there's. I understand what you're saying. I think the workman's comp thing is a bit of a reach. He did come back to
I'm
camp.
sure it is. That's just off the top of my head.
You know what? No, he was already healthy. First of all, I mean, when they offered him $3 million, I was a little bit surprised. I mean, actually, I felt as though, like, how much better is he than a guy like, let's see, like a Brendan Ryan, or like the guy that the Yankees have in camp that used to be with the Cardinals, Pete Kozma. I mean, he doesn't hit for power. He's just like a nice utility piece. And
yes, that's all,
they signed
utility.
But you know what? When they when they tendered him that contract, they did not have Neil Walker or Drupal Cabrera. Okay?
That's absolutely correct.
And Daniel Murphy was a free agent. So, I mean, they're saving $2.5 million. And you know what, Ralph? If Matt Reynolds does the job, and I mean, he's a backup. He's a utility guy. So if Matt Reynolds can do the job, and don't forget, you have another guy floating around the infield, who can play a little shortstop, play a little second,
Flores.
play a little third, is Wilmer Flores.
Absolutely.
And you know what? And if they're in the thick of things and in the middle of July, they make a trade for somebody and they go the extra mile, they go an extra $2 million because they had the savings from Tejada, you're going to look back and say, wow, good move.
Yeah. Well,
I mean, it was a business move, and I can't say it was a terrible move. I also wonder if maybe they felt a little pressure amongst the fans to tender him a contract when they did, because the way he got taken out in the playoffs by Chase Utley and how he suffered his injury. So I think Mr. Tejada,
I understand it, but he came through for them pretty big when last year. He really did. When other things didn't work out, they were going to put when Herrera got sent down and what have you. They needed him, and he came through big. I'm just sorry. Somebody who suffers an injury like that comes back. Just as a fan, as a fan of the player. That's all. I felt bad. I think Reynolds is ready. Reynolds is far from their best shortstop in the minors, so that you can afford to bring him up and still develop Cecchini or whatever, and have him play every day. And Reynolds was on the World Series roster last year, so they're very confident in him. I don't think it will prove to be a step down from a win-loss thing. It does bring a little conflict in the locker room, makes people think in the locker room a little bit. Who are we dealing with?
You know what?
In terms of our bosses.
I tell you what, I read some rumblings about that, but was that I don't know how true that is. They the players understand. The players aren't stupid. I mean, they know $3 million is for a utility guy is, I mean, and how much was he really going to play?
I think they look at it. This is a guy they went to war with, and this was their teammate. I don't think they understand, because they all came up the same way, and they all say, whoa, that could be me tomorrow. So
it could be.
I don't think it's right.
But that's the nature of their business. It could be them tomorrow, but you know what? Tomorrow it also could be them, getting a $10 million raise too. That's their business. That's the nature of their business. And you know what? There's a really good chance that Ruben Tejada will end up with the St. Louis Cardinals. Their shortstop will be out for at least 10 weeks. And you know what? Even though the Mets are in a real good place right now, you know what? Ending up with the St. Louis organization isn't such a bad thing.
Oh, for Tejada, of course not. No.
Exactly.
St. Louis you could count on to be a contender every year. I mean, since I'm a kid, there are very few years when St. Louis hasn't been right in the thick of things. They are a great organization. I must take my hat off to them. That I'm just thinking back what would have been in my fandom's head if, when the Giants left, I didn't automatically become a Cardinals fan and just say, forget about the Mets, forget about following the Giants all those years. It would have been a lot easier to be a St. Louis Cardinal fan. But somehow the easy way is not my way when it comes to baseball. What's new in Yankeeville?
I'm glad you asked. So let's I was about to say, let's swing over to the Yankees. It's funny, the biggest news in Yankee camp this week has been someone who doesn't even play for the team and is not a full-time manager or coach. The biggest news in Yankee land this week has been Goose Gossage.
Yes, wow. Whoa. I retracted some of those statements, but tell me about what he said.
Well, you know what? He didn't really retract. I mean, well, one, he doesn't like today's game. It was the usual rant about really it comes down to the swag in the game. He doesn't like Jose. He doesn't like Jose Batista's bat flip. He doesn't like Bryce Harper's cockiness.
Cespedes, he came down on Cespedes really hard.
Yes. I mean, you know what? I look at it like this. Okay? Bryce Harper is, what is he? Is he 22 now? Is he 20? Maybe he's even, he might even be 23 this year. The guy is, he's
under his belt already.
He's an extremely, he's more than extremely. He is like an ungodly talented ball player. But beyond that, he works his ass off. To perfect his craft. He plays hard. He digs, and so you know what? But he's 23 years old. He's in the spotlight, and so you know what? He's got swag. That's how sports are these days.
That's a new generation, right?
And you know what? You know what? I look at it like this. If his headlines, are about his swag, about how he likes to say, hey, we're pimping our home runs, we're pimping what we do. He said on the same, he says, and he has no problem with pitchers fist pumping and pimping what they do, and he says the younger pitchers. They're on the, he used Jose Fernandez and the Marlins as an example. He said they're on the same page. He fist pumps me, he got me. Okay, I hit one off of him. I do my little swag thing. He looks at me, he knows I got him. It's just the way it is. You know what? To me, it's like a no call. As long, you're not reading headlines about a guy who's a child molester. You're not reading. Someone who commits hate crimes. You're talking about a guy like, with some swag. It's having swag is not a crime.
It's a new generation. I have to admit that it is things that players do today would have got the ball in their ear from a Bob Gibson back then.
Oh, of course.
Times change. Times change.
It's not. Listen, it's not my style. It's not my style personally, But it's like it's okay. It's your thing. That's fine. Not a problem. Baseball's a very
humbling game. Back to the 50s.
I will take it back to the 50s.
I'll switch sports on you, but there was a fellow named Dolph Schayes. Dolph Schayes was my hero as a kid. He was a true boy. He went to NYU.
Syracuse Nationals, I believe.
Oh yeah, right. Syracuse Nationals. When Dolph Schayes hit a long jump shot, or kind of a semi-set shot in those days, he had a fist in the air thing, like yes, just like they do today. Exactly. And that was not looked on as anything but his way, his style. And everybody didn't do it. Very few guys did it. It was a Dolph Schayes thing. He just put his fist up like he just won the Olympics. And he, kind of shake his fist like he hit a beautiful shot. Yay, cheer me. Thought it was a great thing. Nobody came down on him for that.
Yeah. And I tell you, another thing where I think the media gets at Bryce Harper And I felt as though he was very perceptive. I thought this was what when he said this years ago. Well, it wasn't years ago. It was a couple of years ago. But, I mean, I listen to press conferences sometimes, and I listen to the questions, and and I say to myself, really? That's the best you got? And I'll never forget, Bryce Harper once responded to a reporter, and he goes, "That's a clown question, man." You know what? I'm sorry.
Did he say that, really?
Yeah, and to me, that was right on target. It really was.
Yeah, well, I've had people think that about my questions, so I can appreciate that. I think that about my questions at times. So sometimes a questioner really doesn't have, there aren't any good questions. They don't interview Secretariat, for instance, and yet horse racing thrives. I don't think it's important to know the opinion, especially political opinions of folks, Schilling and what have you. That really is nuts. I don't care what my athlete think, and I really don't care what my athlete worships or doesn't worship. But
Kurt Schilling doesn't. He tweets it. He tweets it as Kurt Schilling, and I feel as though ESPN, I'm sorry, I think ESPN has become, what's the word? For lack of a better term, I think they've become a bunch of pussies, editorial pussies.
Well,
I'm sorry. I mean, I think they rein. I think they rein in their people sometimes a little too much. And Kurt Schilling, he tweeted something. He didn't tweet it as he didn't say it on the air. He didn't say it from his ESPN chair. He said it on his own. And I feel as though,
but when you're tweeting in today's day and age, I'm not much of a tweeter. I have a tweet account. Every time I post a podcast, I tweet about it a little bit, or I post, and the Spreaker, the company that we post with, automatically sends it to Twitter. So every now and again I get into the Twitter account and I watch. People have that's a voice. When you're saying something and you work for a company, you're reaching a lot of people. It's not like you just, I understand, I don't think they're necessarily pussies. I think they have something that differentiates their media from ours, for instance. They're indebted to sponsors. And they're very sensitive, as all newspapers, even cable TV has sponsors. So I think it's more that than anything else. I think personally, it wouldn't bother anybody if anybody could say anything that they wanted. A lot of it is political correctness, but sponsorship is, keeping those sponsors.
I understand sponsorship is important, but you know what? It's kind of funny though when you think about what the overall demographic is for someone who might actually be reading Kurt Schilling's tweets. You're talking about male, probably the largest demographic by a big margin is probably male sports fans. 21 to 50.
Right.
I'm willing to bet that a lot of them might be in line with Kurt Schilling's political views. I mean, I'm not personally.
I'm sure.
But,
I live in this country too. It's crazy. Trump, and we always promise, we're not going to talk politics, but we're in a situation now where a man like Donald Trump could stand to be elected president of the United States. With a hateful man with it's come to stuff that you couldn't write in fiction. you know, you thought 1984 by Orwell was, whoa, Big Brother is watching. No, he's not only watching, he's recording. he's got, and we don't even know who Big Brother is anymore. And it's come to this, the people vote, and I hear how they react. I just had a friend, quote, on Facebook, defriend me and leave my remarks up on the thread. The reason he defriended me were my remarks, and then have people and not have me be able to respond to it. I hear what people are thinking on Facebook. I mean, Facebook is a great compass for the way the world is, and it's not just you know, I don't just follow the people that vote for Bernie Sanders like myself. I mean, I'm listening to what the other side is thinking and how they're feeling. There's a lot of discontent. I don't blame them because the system is broken, but to put it in shambles the other way is crazy. So that's
well, one. I know, but I'll say this.
Maybe
it's
not
this,
enough.
You know,
it's enough for me. Enough. I certainly want to hear you.
Yeah, you know what? I was going to say something, but you know what? You're right. Let's leave the political arena because you know it's
absolutely.
It's
every now and again.
It's actually it's right now it's a Barnum and Bailey arena, and so you know let's leave that arena.
Okay.
So.
All right. So tell me what's going on with spring training with the Yankees, because with the Mets, it's Cespedes has a nagging little hip injury, just a nagging little thing. Well, I'll tell you, I watched Cespedes for a long time since he came, because I'm out in the Bay Area, and he played in Oakland when he first came in. He seems to be very brittle. There's something about him. He pulls muscles a lot. And I don't think stuff like that is coincidental. I don't know if it's the training. I don't know if what it is. So anytime I hear in spring training, well, it's nagging at him. I think that's what they is. He's nursing along an injury. My antenna goes up because shouldn't be happening. Players today should get to spring training in shape. They're being paid an astronomical amount of money, and if they come to spring training and early on pull muscles and aches and pains, that's really not good. So I wasn't thrilled to hear that about Cespedes. You got anything going on in the Yankee camp that you might come to mind, and I'll shut up for a minute?
Well, I tell you what, I have to. I'll be honest. I'm a little bit encouraged by the Yankee camp. The hitters seem to be rounding into shape, and I got to say, and now listen, it's only spring training. Okay, so I don't fall in love with what I see in spring training, but the what's the word? Not questionable. I wouldn't call their starting pitching questionable, but the question marks, so to speak.
Right.
So far, not looking bad. Sabathia hasn't been, he's been steady. Severino had a better second outing. Chapman had a better second outing. Ivan Nova seems to be coming along. I'm somewhat encouraged.
I saw something where Rodriguez and Ortiz had a de-icing, they called it. Apparently they hadn't talked to each other for a while, and that's what that's about. A-Rod and Ortiz, Big Daddy.
I'm not sure. I mean, I know. I you know what? you know what could it have gone back to the 2004 World Series? You know?
Yes, when Rodriguez kind of showed his ass on the base paths, and that could be it. Yeah.
You know what? But to me, it's like, okay, you know, to me, it's, you know, let's, you know, but that's not. Oh, but listen, wait a second. We don't want Goose Gossett to get wind of that because he doesn't like that either. You know, he doesn't like players hugging each other these days either. You know, and being nice to each other or fraternizing.
I don't know about. Well, you know, it's a generation. If I took him a long time to get into the Hall, and the Hall opens up a whole new set of endorsements, new set of a new lifestyle for these guys. But twixt then and the time that they were making big bucks, and God knows with all of them how much is left with, you know, the way people have been ripped off by the banking industry. Ball players, I'm sure, have suffered the same kind of stuff. You know, Sandy Koufax was ripped off terribly by the same people.
Madoff.
You know, Wilpon thing. Yeah, the Madoff thing. So they're subject to it. So players people in general who lose a lifestyle have more money they can spend and
I don't know if that was the case.
They become bitter.
But you know
and
what?
They start to resent the players that are, and I think I'm not saying all these players that you mentioned that Gossage is down on, except for the kid from Washington. All of them are Latin. So I don't know if am I right?
Well, it's funny you mention that because somebody said that, you know, Gossage is the last person to talk about players today. About they made some kind of reference because Gossage, if you remember, I think it was in 1979, Goose Gossage got into a fight in the locker room with Cliff Johnson and tore his thumb, and he actually missed a couple of months. And Ron Guidry went from the rotation to the bullpen to be the closer. Yeah. And God, if I remember, you know what, I could be wrong, but I think he got it's not like he made $80,000 a year. I mean, he did sign. I'm pretty sure his contract with the Yankees, his first contract with the Yankees, was for $3 million, which.
It's nothing, but we're just talking about Tejada. We're talking about Tejada making
you know what?
$3.
I mean, listen.
If jealousy has to be jealousy.
If you all right,
some
let's
people,
just say,
right?
Let's just say he earned $8 million in his career. Okay? I tell you what, if you're broke today, and unless you were ripped off, if you're broke today, you're an ass.
Well,
okay?
No, I don't think that's the case. You can't generalize like that, Wayne. You cannot say, well, how many people when he was riding high became dependent on him? How many when you say ripped off, you may not be intentionally ripped off. You could be ripped off by the system not coming through for you, by investments that you lose and stuff. You're not ripped off. They're bad investments. It's hard to really quantify what going through money, who takes the responsibility sometimes going through big bucks, and plus taxes and what have you. The smartest guy in baseball ever is Bobby Bonilla. He's 53 years old, and the Mets still pay him every month.
Yes. Well, what's even better is or maybe equal to it, is the story about Yogi Berra, about the land that he owned in Orlando. And actually, a number of Yankees back in the 50s, they, I guess, through a friend or an advice, they all bought land in Orlando. And little by little, this one sold a plot, this one sold a plot, that one sold a plot. And then, like, years later, like, Yogi was the only one that still owned his piece of land. For whatever reason, just still owned his piece of land. And he started getting phone calls, and they wanted to buy his land. You know who needed that land? Who could not do without that land in order to build? Disney.
Oh, wow.
He made a. So word has it.
Is that some luck?
You know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Word has it.
Wow.
You know, he made a killing. So.
Yeah. Nice story. You know, it always comes back to Yogi, and when we talk money, it's always Yogi and his incredible fortune and his pension for it goes back to Yoo-Hoo, the soft drink, how they wanted him to be a sponsor and they didn't have much money to pay for him, so they gave him stock in the company. Right.
They gave him stock.
And every time there was a Yankee with a home run, he's in the dressing room, he'd have a Yoo-Hoo T-shirt on if he didn't below his uniform. So he got publicity. He got 2 or 3 times a week. Hank Bauer, you know, somebody would be on the front page, the back page of the news with a Yoo-Hoo ad, and that took off. He made a lot of money from that. Long after he quit playing baseball, money came in from that. Somewhere I heard recently that it was his late wife, that Carmen, that had the seichel, all the brains going, and that she was really more responsible for his good fortune than, you know, because things don't happen by accident.
Right.
Yeah.
Talk about a Met player who did very well, who got involved with vitamin water, was David Wright, and he got in on the ground floor, and vitamin water took off, did very well, and actually they were bought by the company I work for, Coca-Cola.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Some guys land on their feet. David Wright has this image that as a Met, he's going to go down as one of the most beloved Mets ever. And good news, he's going to be playing Friday. He's rounding into shape, and he's going to make his spring training debut Friday. And we'll know more about how things are going next week when we resume what is much fun for me, Wayne. I'm really appreciative of the opportunity to just share time with you on a weekly basis. It's fun.
Yeah, same here, Ralph. I love it. And and I'm looking forward to spring training. You know, I'm looking. The Mets. You know, all the teams have been making cuts, and the Mets made some cuts yesterday. So I think they're down to about 39 players, which is good because now you'll be able to gauge the spring training games a little more. The starting pitchers are going a little longer. I think most of the starters are now up to 4 innings. So both the pitchers and the hitters will be going up against better competition. So it'll be.
Today the Mets had a day off. Today the Mets had a much needed day off. Spring training is not easy. A lot of times you got split squad games. You're on buses. Really isn't easy, and I'm glad the season is approaching, and we got good stuff coming up. we're going to end this the same way we always do, just by telling everybody to hang in there. Keep on keeping on. Life is a roller coaster. You're up, you're down, you shake around, but try to have the same attitude every day and enjoy life. Have fun like we do. Wayne and I know how to have fun. Am I right?
Without a doubt. And don't
right.
stress over anything.
No, we don't miss much fun. And that is the name of the game, because if it ain't fun, it should not be getting done. Catch you next week, Wayne.
All right.
Yeah.
See you next week. I hope we have our scheduled guest. Anyone here who does any, I won't drop a name, but I will say this.
Okay.
Anyone here who does fantasy baseball, okay, you will probably want to make sure you listen to the show if we do get our scheduled guest. That's all I'm going to say.
Good. We're going to get the best buys. When I say buys, the best bang for your buck on the Mets and the New York Yankees. Wayne, what was your favorite number when you grew up?
My favorite number when I grew up, you're talking about baseball player number?
Yeah, Yankees.
Or,
yeah, your number. What number did you wear on your...
You know what? My first numbered shirt was a 7.
All right. So now you'll have to bear with me. This is really my only talent, so bear with me.
Oh, no, it's okay, Ralph. You did that last week.
Oh, I did that, or
you did it last week. I know. Seven. I know. 70's hitting you hard, but that's okay.
All right.
That was a joke.
Well, thanks for the pun. We'll catch you next week. And that pun is all in fun. As it's meant to be.
Yes.
See you later, man.
All right. Have a good night. Good night, everybody.